Can we go right into each of
Yes.
your subject, your list of things to do?
Yes. Welcome back, my colleagues. This is the second meeting for CTRE's faculty learning community. Today is October the 30th, Wednesday afternoon, second time. This is Cam Bart speaking, been calling Bart. I'm from the Faculty of Science and Technology, and this is the second time for me to facilitate such meeting. My coach is outside, Spencer, is here to help. So whenever he jumps in, well, we got to listen. All right. So thank you very much for coming back. And today, if you look at the agenda, I would like to see if we would walk through the sequence of observations, interpretations, and applications. So we're going to do some observation first. As of last time, if you look at the Moodle environment, we did the last meeting and we recorded and we put the video on YouTube already. So if you click on this video, it's the YouTube video of the last meeting, okay? So we're not going to watch it now. So we go back to where we are today. And if you look at the message that I sent out yesterday, I did invite all of us in this learning community to think about something. No, this is the first one. Let me just go back to the message. Yes, right here. This is the message I sent out about on the 28th. This is the review of the faculty learning community's rationale and also some pointers on the frequently classroom context. And towards the end, I invite each one of us to try to do that. Well, produce a video of our lecture for a select concept and do the video within 5 minutes and try to share that video with all of us if it's available to you, and then share some ideas about how we're going to use some face-to-face time in class now that we produce the video for our students as the content for them to learn. And then we need to ask some questions. That is, what kind of discussion prompt we can use in class, given the fact that we produce a video for our students. And then we try to keep track of the time we spend producing the video. But this is a typical sequence in producing video for a flipped classroom. So I did my homework, so in a minute I can show you a little bit of my work last evening. I'm sorry, this has spent 10 minutes there. So I did not do a very elaborate work, but I think you can see the process. So in order to kick off today's meeting, I would like to go back to where we are today as the second meeting. So I would like to get some review on what exactly is meant by a flipped classroom, how it works. So let's go to this video for a quick review. Let's see what happened to the sound. Someone pulled the trigger. You see, many people have used this room today, and the trick is here. We need to fix this jack. We do have the sound, but we cannot transmit the sound to the speaker.
We can hear very low. Right?
Yeah, because we cannot get it through to the amplifier.
Oh.
That is the trick. Anyway, well, even though that is the case, there's nothing I can do right next time I'll bring my speaker with me. Okay, so we need to fix the problem. Okay, and this is just 1.5 minutes.
video. I cannot make it work in case Lexi does not work. It's a little bit embarrassed, but it's okay.
Happens in my classroom too.
Yeah. Now I can fix it, but looks like today, because the jack is not working well, I tried the contact several times, and it does not work. Okay, anyway, let's forget about this. So where we are, as of last time in this practical learning community, I guess today the major purpose for us to revisit the topic is to have conversations. I'm not teaching here, and I'm just a facilitator. Hopefully we get some out of the employees. Well, if you have looked at the website's resources, based on this particular video, and definitely this is not the only video, we do have quite interesting beginning as of last time. This is the paper produced by Spencer's colleague from the University of Maryland. And it's a teacher's, I would say, confessions of what is meant by active learning. He's the guy who received the teaching award. And it's quite pleased to join the faculty learning community like this after receiving the award. And he believes he's a very good teacher. But 2 or 3 times after joining the conversations there, he discovered that he has to question a lot of assumptions of his teaching. Okay? And so he wrote something here called a manifesto for active learning by telling us, number 1, learning is not the same thing as receiving information. This is the first confession. Okay? The second thing is that learners or lecturers are not the enemy of active learning. Okay? The third is that lecture should never be passive. And the fourth, the loudest voice in the room is not always the smartest. Number 5, technology should not be banned from the classroom. And if you could look at the last one, the classroom, it's not the classroom. This is very interesting. So, in the message that I sent out 2 days ago, I invite each one of us to try to put some thought into this person's sharing and try to relate this to the flipped classroom that we would like to discuss today. And unfortunately, but I guess there's something I can do if you can come closer. Okay? If you can come closer. I can do something here. Because although we cannot hear from the loudspeaker here, fortunately I did bring my computer with me. Let's start with this very interesting video on technology-enhanced student-centered learning. Okay? So it talks about differences between teacher-centered learning and student-centered learning and why we need to use technology. And in the process of that, well, we have to link it to active learning. Now, when we talk about flipping the classroom, I guess we are quite willing to use technology as a means to help our students to learn. Okay? So, may I invite you to put some thought into this by looking into this 1.5 minutes video first, right here.
This is a classroom. The teacher stands in the front, and the students watch and listen. You'll recognise this because it's probably how you were taught and how your parents were taught before you. But there are a lot of problems with this approach to teaching. You see, not all students learn at the same speed, so some get left behind. And while some students learn better by listening, others may learn better by doing. This means that teachers can't always do the best job they can. But there is another way. The flipped classroom addresses these problems and makes learning more personal. First, the teacher makes a video that delivers the content they usually teach in the class. Then they share it online with students who can watch it before the next lesson. This leaves the teacher free to spend fast time doing activities that help students apply the knowledge. can rewind and rewatch a video as many times as they like and come back to class with questions for the teacher. So keeping up with the class is no longer an issue. Students can access the video at any time using mobile devices, giving them the ability to learn more independently. Instead of sitting and listening, students can spend class time applying knowledge in more practical ways. And the teachers are free to spend their time working with students, giving them individual support and attention. The flipped classroom model is already making a difference to students and teachers worldwide. So get involved. Discover more at flippedinstitute.org and become part of the movement.
So we've gone through this video now. I would like each one of us to try to put some thought into, now, even though you have not finished reading this manifesto for active learning, does not matter. When the first point, this teacher confessed that learning is not the same thing as receiving information. What do you make of it? And based on your teaching experience, well, in the context of the flipped classroom, could you share something that will stimulate our further discussions in that?
Oh, I'm first. My name is Marie, and I think I agree with what he says here. Personally, if you read on in the later on, it says that the smart people like to talk and the smartest people like to listen. So a lot of times in the class, you're not getting opinions from a lot of your students that are at a higher level because they're listening. So I guess what I interpret from this is that you need to put yourself in their shoes.
Okay.
Also, and they're processing information, and a lot of the times, especially in the ELC, they're processing information in another language, so also it takes longer for them to just process information in general. Well, what we try to do in the language courses is essentially flip in every lesson, and I try to make sure that at least I have maybe only 40% to 30% of speaking time in the class, and then the rest of the time is students speaking. If my voice hurts by the end of the class, then I'm speaking too much, I think. So I try to keep that in mind.
So in the context of an English language class, when you say you're preparing a class, what exactly are you doing, and what exactly are the students doing in the class?
Essentially, the students are either doing some group activities together, and I'm walking around the classroom, usually monitoring the students or giving advice, giving feedback.
Yes.
But very rarely do I stand in front and lecture on a topic. But it does also happen in order to facilitate. You need some kind of lecturing to facilitate in the classroom, but usually the students are learning from each other, and you can tell they like it. Some of them will comment, "Oh, I like learning from the other student," or "I like hearing their opinion instead of always the teacher's opinion."
To the best of my understanding, the English Language Center had set up a dual model environment called independent learning site for the student to learn specific things. Right? So do you regularly put some contents there for students in your class to do a reading first before they come to class?
Absolutely. Yeah, almost every class they do something online on independent learning. We have a requirement in our course
Yes.
that they do 3 hours independent learning per week in my course, and then they have to share their independent learning with the other students through Moodle, through online
Oh, that's great.
forums.
So do you mean in a Moodle environment you do have some kind of discussion forum for students to talk to one another and also?
Correct. Yes, I set it up for each class, so it's almost like a blog, but it's just within Moodle, so it's personal for the class. It's not public.
Is it necessary
yeah.
for the students to do some kind of videotape of their presentations and episodes of learning just to demonstrate that they have actually mastered from the table lessons?
Yeah, I'm not doing it in my class right now, but I do know some other teachers that are doing that. So they have the students record and answer by video, and then actually the teacher responds to them by video, or the other students have to respond to the other students by video. So it reinforces the homework, I think, in a more natural way, and then they have to use English, obviously, to speak and give their answers. So that's
do you
another
encounter
thing.
any difficulty with students' unwillingness to do something as expected?
Oh, that's a good question. For instance, if you assign something for homework and they don't do it, and then they
Yes.
come to class and they cannot do your lesson, right? Because they didn't do the
Yeah.
homework.
Yes.
It does happen, of course, but most students will prepare themselves for the next lesson because they don't want to struggle in class.
Yes.
They don't want to be embarrassed by that.
Thank you so much, Maria, because
Yeah.
we learned so much from your experience here. I guess one thing that I got out of this learning is not the same thing as receiving information. It's in the past, I always could see coming to class as the responsibility of a teacher transmitting knowledge to a student, and they take it for granted. And when I try to switch from this mindset into inviting my student to join some classroom activity, like group discussion, I got some kind of feedback from students that, sir, we do not believe that you should be doing something, you should be asking us to do something like that, because in the class it's you who has to teach us something. That means the image of a teacher in a classroom is to talk. We have to transmit to students what they expect to learn from it. If I'm not doing this, they might be saying that I'm abdicating my responsibility as a teacher. So for them, I'm not doing my teaching at all. So they could actually go to complain me. So do you have this experience in your class? Because I'm not doing transmissions of knowledge. Because for them, this is what they expect. So in doing a flipped classroom, do you believe that it's going to be a big obstacle?
I think it's more than, I mean, if you ask me, I think the longer we have taught, we already kind of, it's our own fault. We already kind of develop our own style. And as you said, when I taught, I used to give a very deliberate PowerPoint. Now, if you want me to make a flip class or only for 5-10 minutes video, that would be difficult for me. The only thing I would say that it could be done is turning everything into some kind of essential questions about the chapter. So I'm not feeding them the knowledge. I'm actually trying to make sure they know the question to be asked of that chapter. Does it make sense?
I think it makes a lot of sense because
Yeah, and then followed by the class in groups answering those questions.
Yes.
Now, but I like group work, but students always complain they're free riders. So, and also somehow the students already know each other, and they know who are good students, and they cling together. So my experience that you trying to separate them by just randomly assign the group 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they eventually will end up the same thing. They don't like to work with free. I don't think we need to like. Yeah. So I mean, this is the. But I'm sorry, all this is a problem, but it's worth doing it. If I have a chance to teach it.
Do you have any feedback from you on what you said?
Yes, just both on both these points. First, coming to the issue issue of whether learning is taking place with a civic knowledge. I think we should look beyond the classroom. My concern is not the classroom. The classroom, even by doing the traditional lecture, we know how to engage them, have an active engagement, helps to take the monotony out, like having to have a one-way communication. So we just kind of follow legal tools, for example, the Socratic method, whereby you provoke the students, and the students have to respond. So it's not that they just receive something from me, say 10 minutes of a lecture. Then it's not just there, so we don't just keep that there or even further. They will process it and get back to on the next 10 or 15 minutes of discussion, where I'm challenging them, they're going to challenge me on the idea. Right. So this way we can ensure, but my concern is slightly beyond the classroom.
Yes, beyond the classroom.
Exactly. For example, we talk about assessments, we talk about assignments to audience. In fact, what we see even in terms of thesis research, master level, students mostly process information. When you have a piece of writing, you have a computation of information. Then applying a critical mind in terms of writing an original piece. I don't mean to say that they're just plagiarizing, they may be acknowledging that citing everything's there. But in substance, it's not a critical piece of work. It's a compilation of information. Again, for me, that one is just receiving information. It's not like learning at all. So we have to think beyond the classroom, even to design our assessments or projects and even thesis tasks in such a way that they learning process.
But what's going to happen in the undergraduate courses, not in the graduate courses? We have to help them to learn bits and pieces of the curriculum. And what we're suggesting with the flipped classroom approach is when we do the bits and pieces in the video form and post it in a convenient venue for them to access. So once they've done the homework, or better say, listen to the lecture at home, when they come to the class, they should be better prepared to learn better because we could have more time understanding the needs of the student to see how good a job you've been doing to learn the material. So from that point of view, well, we're not doing transmissions and lectures, not the enemies of active learning.
So that is my point is not necessarily for the graduate, so even for undergraduates.
Yes.
Task assignment of the task work for the given should be designed in such a way that it's not simply an information processing.
Right.
Rather there is a learning experience. And in that sense, as you rightly said, classroom for me, the flipping is not necessarily just making video and then we don't talk,
Right.
then we flip that. Actually, it's making the classroom time more efficient way to ensure that the learning takes place in the classroom, whether what requires a face-to-face contact and what may be done without that. For me, that's how I see that. Instead of just replacing lecture with design.
Right.
So for me, the flipping is not necessarily flipping the lecture to something else, but rather, even if lecturing is needed, you may have to still do it. But the point is, some should not be the entire lecture, like what we do traditionally.
Okay, right. I see what you mean. It's we cannot spoon feed the students with all we believe is important. I can very elaborate about that. But we have to do it in such a way that we need to give them back the responsibility to learn on their own. Yes, can Dr. Chan, please.
I'm still confused
Confused, yes.
with the concept of flipping the classroom. Because it seems that everyone's interpretation of it is a little bit different.
Yeah.
I just want to know what's the central idea of the proposal. The one who proposed this concept? Can you explain? Before I comment on it, I just want to make sure what's the original idea of flipping the classroom.
Okay. So again, yes, you want to try? Yes. You want to try first? Yes. Well, again, the document that I gave you last time basically had given us some answers to your questions. Each person's interpretations of the flipped approach could be different. But the essential idea is to make sure that now that we have some kind of technology, neither intellect, neither learning management system, neither video. So if you want to empower our students to learn on their own with a sense of responsibility, we need to give them something such that during the time with us on regular contact hours, we should be able to do a better job as a teacher to enhance the students' learning ability. So what it means is, in the past, we believe the student cannot learn anything. We have to teach them in a sense that we have to give them every bits and pieces of the expected learning from the curriculum, which is divided in different kind of courses. So we spend a lot of time, 90% of each class, telling students what we expect them to learn. And we just give them a small amount of time for questions or time to think about it. And then, because we're so much concerned in covering topics from the curriculum, we really have not done a good job in listening to the students' needs, whether or not they understand it, except during times of assessment, summative assessment tests, or final exam, or even the paper they produce. But it might be too late. So we try to do it this way, extend the boundary of the classroom in such a way that what if we could do the teaching part in the form of e-learning material, like watch a video, just like when you come to class, watch me lecture. At home, you manage your time enough to do that preparations first before you come to class, so that we can extend the class time in such a way 90% of the class time for discussion sake or explanations. Okay, so in that case, which is not possible in the traditional approach, so we say reflect the classroom in such a way we allow you to listen to the lecturer outside the classroom time. We allow you the time to ask questions inside the classroom time. So that's the basic idea that I have. Okay, so depending on how you're going to enable the student to learn, just like in the piece that goes in the NOS meetings discussion forum, it's that each teacher has to look for the flippable moments of your class and try to install for your students' sake to empower them to learn. But this is my essential understanding of it.
So
You mean flippable moment?
what is a flippable moment?
Yeah.
That's very good. That's very good. We need to talk about it. Yes, sure. It's very good.
My question is that this is a faculty learning community. And I'm wondering how many of you use a microphone at home when you're having a conversation.
Sure. I'm sorry, Spencer, because it's we want to keep some record through the video. That's the only reasons why we talk.
So, but the question is, it's your learning community, but by using these videos, you have changed the frame from a conversation to something that it is not.
Okay. So it's really up to you, right?
I'll use it for your video. Because we're doing research in the ELC right now on flipped classrooms, what we essentially did was that's a good question, when should I flip something and when shouldn't I? So basically we looked through our curriculum of what we needed to cover and really analyzed some things that we thought would be more conducive to the flipping itself. So for example, we have 4 modules in our level 3 class, and we only found 2 that were really conducive to flipping. So you really needed to go through and kind of analyze really what's going to be most appropriate and effective, and for time-wise for yourself, because it is a lot of preparation in advance to create the materials to flip the class. So I couldn't flip the whole class 100% because there's just not enough time, essentially. So certain lessons I think are best, and you're going to have to manage, I think, time-wise what's feasible.
Could you explain, my question is, I'm not sure what you mean by not enough time. Whose time? Your time?
Your own time. It's a lot of time to put in to make videos, to think about creative ways to bring in what you did outside into the classroom. versus, you know, finding other videos too, because what we've done in the past is found other teachers that have made videos on our topic and used those. So why does it have to be me? It doesn't have to be you, but I think the students really do prefer you. They like the interaction with you, and from the surveys that I'm getting right now, they say, well, I like your personal touch, your personal input, and they do want your personal input. So I do think that they like it when you create your own videos as much as possible.
So what's the timepiece of creating?
Oh, it depends on what you're
Right.
teaching. Yeah.
I mean, that's the question that the faculty have. The question is, if I want to make a 10-minute video, how much time does it take you to make a 10-minute?
Personally, I've been using technology for a while and I'm very comfortable with it. So for me, I could do it in about 30 minutes to make a 10-minute video and have it uploaded and finished and complete, as long as I know exactly what I'm going to say. My coworker would probably say for that 30 minutes that it would take me about 2 hours.
But after they do 3 of those, that 2 hours comes down. So
Exactly.
So that's, you're pretty fast.
I'm fast, yeah. But I think the more you do it, the more comfortable
Yes.
you become with it.
That's
Yeah.
why we need group support for that.
But why do we need the technology to do this?
Why we always we have to create videos.
Yeah.
Why
I mean,
we
if I
don't
give
use
them
the
some-
traditional way?
Yeah,
The video
can we,
transpose
I
in
mean,
our
yeah, I understand technology, but on the other hand, if the purpose is to revert what you expect them to do after your lecture versus, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
the most traditional approach of flipping a classroom before we have today's technologies, we create very elaborate reading lists for students week by week, just like what we are doing now. The difference between today's versions and previous versions is, in the past, I would pass to my students a pack of a very thick syllabus which contained all the schedules of reading and all the readings of which book. And they have to do the week by week reading, and I go to the library to select a book and read from page 5 to page 10 for this, and another book from page 6 to page 8 for that, and look up resources from that. And today, they can easily do it through the Google site, reading all those material related, capture all the things together, and they write using the electronic journal instead of writing on the notebook, and they can easily change it. And once they finish doing the journal in the past, they have to have someone to discuss with them. They make a phone call, invite the person face to face. And today, the easiest thing for them to do is to move the material or the journal from one location on the website to another location, which is called discussion forum, so that each of per partner join the discussion forum by reading each of per journal's material and jumping into the discussions immediately. In the past, we really cannot do things like
So,
this.
no, wait, but,
That
so
wasn't
wait.
the question that.
Going over the first part first, I understand you using the technology to engage the student among themselves or between the teachers. But we are talking about the first step is flipping. Is you want what you want to flip, what you usually do in the classroom, which is lecturing, to the outside, to being outside the classroom. So and then you want them, maybe because the traditional way without flipping is you lecture and then they give them homework. But now flipping is that you ask them to do the homework in the classroom. So my question now, yours is a further ahead of me. But I think if you just flipping, if someone spends us, she's actually fast, not many people are not as fast, so maybe
So-
can we start with that?
Let me, that's the decision.
That's a very
So-
good question.
So the reality is that there's nothing wrong with having them do the homework, but it's making certain assumptions, and what we know is the validity of those assumptions is not particularly high. Often they don't do the homework, or they do it in a way, I can tell you as a freshman undergraduate, we had homework due every Saturday morning in physics. And I can tell you what I did Friday night. I simply went and found my smartest friend and we did the homework. I mean, the answer, I turned it in, but it was a useless learning experience. So the other piece on it is that in a class, the assumption is that when you are up there lecturing, that people are paying attention. That assumption is often not correct. They're on Facebook, they're daydreaming, they're texting on it. And you have no, so one of the pieces is that of flipping, and when people do these, again, they can mindlessly watch the video and at home or not watch it, similar. But if there is an assessment tied to that video, then you at least know they paid X amount of attention.
Yeah.
The other advantage in this environment, but it's true in other ones, for those students, what you can do with the video that you can't do with the lectures, you can stop and pause. And for second language learners, this is a very advantage. The second piece of doing the homework in class means everybody's engaged with this homework if they show up for the class and they on that. And so it's that, and that's why it's been used in high schools. It's the idea because everybody knew that homework was busy work on it. It wasn't necessarily learning. And so you move the homework into a more learning piece. And the passive watching is just as, if they're just passively watching, the net value of watching live versus watching on video may be balanced on that. So it's not quite the same. You lose something when you take the video because it is now static. There's no improvement. It's less interactive on that. But
So the traditional lecture need not be just a one-way lecture, right? Okay, so when you are lecturing, okay, you introduce some concepts, and then okay, you can at the same time ask student questions, and then they are involved.
So the answer is I agree. In a really interactive class,
Yes.
you're not flipping that interactive class. What you're flipping is the passive lecture.
A passive, okay, one-way lecture.
Yeah. That, and so that's your sort of your decision. I mean,
But if it is interactive, okay, this
then it
this
might
should
not be,
be
you might not want to.
So that is one fruitful moment.
Yeah, it's a really good question on that piece. But we know that many lecturers, I've sat through, and I've observed enough lectures and enough disciplines to know that what you're describing is the exception rather than the rule. And you know it as a student. How many lectures did you sit through that were really engaging?
This semester, okay, I try to ask them a lot of questions during class time.
Yeah,
Once I introduce one basic concept, then I try to
Right.
give some examples of which to tell them to how to apply the concepts.
So though, you might not, this flipping might not be the piece to do it. You gotta make the, but one doesn't preclude the other, right? There may be one where you really just want to have it.
Because okay, for me, okay, as I have shared with the colleagues okay, last time, okay, I am teaching the technical courses. Okay, so to me, okay, it seems to be quite difficult for me to think about some kind of video, okay, to introduce the mathematical concept and statistical concepts. And there's so many concepts.
So I don't know. I mean, the answer is the best online
Yeah, of course, okay, I'll
courses are the
try. So
static
that's why,
courses.
okay, I come to this class, okay, to explore, okay, to think more deeply, okay, on how to introduce some flipping into the classroom in my courses.
I think it's a very good question because I think each one of us in our discipline, we might think of something that we want to really flip over, but sometimes we really do not know how to work it out because some of the concepts is too complicated and one needs to the other. So if we could have a group just like this and we can work together sometime later to observe, for example, just like Wendy said, why come to visit you sometime to see what exactly and you help us to learn with what kind of material, then we can observe and then we can, as a group, a support group, we can think together about what we can do by doing a better learning design, dividing the topics and how we can flip some of the concept. And with the flipped concept, we can save some time in class. And I remember one specific complaint from some of my students. When I tried to answer one more question from students, they would say at the end of the class, never do that, sir. If you answer one more question, you're taking time away from us. We should be learning from you. And don't try to answer questions during class time, but after, because we are expecting the teachers, someone like this. So, what if we could have a lot of materials already in the form of flippable classrooms material they can access on the wall, and they could give us the questions before we come to class. So as a teacher, I know what they're expecting, and I use the question as the basis to redesign my classroom lecture. And that would be interesting. And I guess this is what Eric Azur at Harvard University in physics are doing, right? So, it's
you know, to me it seems that flipping the classroom, we need to, we want to engage, we want students to engage in it, and which means that we want more interaction, and we want to empower students. But the problem is, many of the students, they are not motivated to learn. And in that case, even though you put lots of information in Moodle, they just don't read it. What's the point then?
So that's, and the answer is, flipping's not going to make them more motivated. That's a different issue and question about it, on that. That's a very different piece. One of the things that can be done, and it can be done live, it doesn't, is that many of the people who are using this piece, when they're watching the video, it pauses and asks them to answer question sets before that video can go on. And if they don't score their gated answer sets, meaning if they do not score a certain percentage, they can't go forward. And those are all tied to course points. So the answer is, that doesn't affect their motivation for learning, but the extrinsic award for doing it is what they do recognize, which are grades and points.
What about
So we should tie assessment
to
the
specific
jobs that-
learning activities.
Oh, yes, that's,
I
why
think
would I do it?
one of the
Yeah.
things that I find in my classes is that those students that you think are more unmotivated and they're not going to look at the materials on Moodle, when they get to class, they're so far behind that they're floundering, they can't swim, they're just choking in class. And then I think that embarrassment makes them work harder. So for me, when I've used it, you see the first couple classes, they just struggle, those students. And they're so far behind and they're embarrassed. And then they start actually looking at the materials online. They think, oh, okay, it is serious. I need to do the preparation before I come to class in order to be successful or communicate or do anything in this class. So it might be kind of like an initial period that I find that they struggle like that, but then it kind of motivates them because in order to be accepted in the setting in class, they have to do the work outside of class before.
So there's a second variation on that that just came out, so it's using peer pressure, and there's a recent article that came out it may have been in Chronicle, one of those. And so basically this was a class where they did a set of problems, they had to do them, and then they came in, and then they exchanged and graded each other, gave feedback on each other's problems. There was no points tied to any of this, and the net gain of the grades in the class went up by about a grade level. And the reason was that students were very embarrassed to hand to the person side of them, their friend, this garbage, right?
Well, I agree with
And
that.
that's self-motivation.
Yes, I agree with you that I actually have met quite a large number of students that are not prepared and not motivated to do the learning, and I characterize them as the lack of aspirations on their own to come to school. The reasons they're here is because they're looking for credentials at the end of the college year to earn a better job. Yet, when I think about the motivations problem, I've learned that over the years that in my syllabus, I try to put in a small paragraph about what teachers' communications. I would like to read that paragraph, and I invite you to understand. It's good for us to have one semester together in this particular course, and it's expected that you will want a good grade. And so the design of this course include the following. So you need to complete the following learning activity in order to earn a particular grade. So that is extrinsic motivations. Or they have a choice not to come to this course, okay? But if it is a major course, they know that they have to complete it in order to graduate. So in that sense, it's the issues of teacher helping them to fulfill the dreams, to get a good grade and learn something. That this is my role. And then they have to do something in return. So based on that contractual idea, I try to do what I could as a teacher to produce something which is supposed to be interesting for them to learn. And so frequently class represents one of those new ideas or new concept that I can introduce in class to help them to learn better. And hopefully, in some sense, the extrinsic motivator will be transformed into the intrinsic motivator when they discover that there's something good for them to learn. So I cannot change the picture myself. I cannot turn them into motivational students just because I'm a teacher. So I think it's this.
I think what you just mentioned is that now Hong Kong universities are trying to do is to convey a very clear message, of require, as you said, requirement on the student part. If what grade say the rubrics are so specific now in Hong Kong outcome-based teaching and learning, so specific, okay? There are different versions, but I like the more simple version is the universal A, B, C, D, right? So each assignment will tell the student exactly what will give you an A and what will give you a B and a C. Some similar what you just said. But let me I play it definitely. Okay, now in many universities, teachers' lectures are actually paid, but especially very I don't know when do they take?
Hong Kong University has been doing it for
Yeah, and it's so okay. Now, instead of spending so much time to try to learn the technology, can a flip class be just a recording of someone's lecture and then?
No.
No.
They're fundamentally different. Many universities have classroom capture, which means that.
And then student can always look.
But the difference is when you make the difference is that when you sit down and do a video lecture piece, it is a different lecture, a different style than this other one. Some students watch it, but if you've ever watched, I mean, I have all of my classes at Maryland with video, and they're just horrible to watch. The audio is often very, very poor. It's very hard to do that. You can't capture the questions. So the quality there is not very good. And when one makes those, when you make your video, there's a lot of care and attention to doing that. And what my colleagues who do this, and they do it pretty often, former colleagues, they can convey in what it takes. A 55-minute standard university lecture in the U.S. actually can be done in 20 minutes if you use a flip video. Content on that, or 2 channels. And so they're very different pieces on it. And if you've ever watched somebody lecture, it's generally a waste of time.
Then what about the technology support? Can say a center like yours actually say, if you want to do a film class, okay, and you cannot manage to learn, can she come to your center
Sure,
and ask
sure.
someone
The answer is-
to
So the answer is, anybody in this room could do the beginning, a beginning flip class.
Right.
You don't need it, the technology is sitting on this table, you need a software piece to use Camtasia. Doing that, it takes a little bit of practice. But on the new campus, CTLE will have the facilities to do that if they do.
You have so much experience in cooking the classroom. Can you share with us a real life case?
The answer is, I have not flipped, because I have many of my classes on that, because I take the fact that my classes are interactive. But I have people who have done those and have been very, very successful. If you will.
We can do it one day at a time,
Yes,
just
yeah.
like what I'm doing here. Actually, I do more flipping this semester than the previous semester.
Well,
because
can someone come to take your classroom?
actually, you can see my
Yeah,
classroom
can you show it to
video.
us?
Yes, you can see
Yeah.
my classroom video at the end of it.
Yeah, can you just?
Oh, can let me just show you some of my, go to my channel. I just post my classroom video at the end of each day, so you can see some, oh, sorry.
So
This is
the
not-
other reason the classroom video doesn't work, or you have to be careful about it,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of data on this. Attention span is 10 minutes, and so any video longer than 10 minutes, you're wasting your time.
That's what
I
the
very
purpose
much
of
agree with that,
how could I
Spencer,
cover
because
my lesson
It's so
in
much
10 minutes?
easier for me to capture my classroom video and post it on YouTube than making a flippable video. That is very much important. So you can see that this is my classroom in actions with my students. I have a 1.5-hour class, and normally I will capture 1 hour and 15 to 20 minutes. And I put it on my video environment, my students are free to watch it. And when I check the record, not many students will watch it. But it's,
No, you think it's the actual class of yours?
yes, it's actually class right here.
It seems like it's just a
Because I use a lot of flippable videos inside, so I let the student watch the video, and then use the video during the class and engage them in the table-by-table discussions every class. And so, because of that, I discovered that I need more video to support the learning.
So actually, you are actually
This is the
in your
lecture
class.
capture
In
my
your class, you already prepare short videos on your lessons, and then you show them say 10 minutes, and then you engage in discussion, and
Just
then you
like-
put the video again.
Yeah, just like this, all right? So you can, I just go through different
You get
videos.
3 concepts.
I spend 3 minutes per video, and I invite my students to 5 minutes discussions on that. And remember
But
that.
then it's not
Your
flipped,
class.
because they did not watch it outside the class.
You have to understand.
We cannot refine it.
Yeah, but surely watch it. Just like what Raymond said last time. If they don't watch it, I'll give 3
Hey,
minutes to
hello.
watch it again.
That's did is flipping?
No,
You heard
not
that?
yet. This is lecture capture.
Exactly,
The
that's
flip is
not
here.
flipping.
No, the flip is right here. All these videos
So
here.
he just recorded each little segment of his lecture in the video, and then show it in the class, say 3 minutes, and then engage in discussion, and then next segment 3 minutes.
But and according to my syllabus category, before they come to each class, there are specific indications which video they need to watch.
I know
So I
that.
assume they watch it, but
I know that.
normally, because I did not enforce any scoring for that, most of the students do not watch it, just not really set up. So what we
I
have
want
to do.
to see your a look at KT Gimber's flip classroom. Is it?
Oh, that's very good. That's a very good
There's a
thing.
really flip classroom demonstration.
Yes.
And
No,
is
no,
it-
no, no, no.
No?
This is not
Again,
good.
no?
This is just examples of that. Examples of that. She's telling us her story of frequent class for the past 18 months. But we can go to some kind of libraries with different kind of courses.
I really
All
want
the
just like them. I really
Today
want
they have
some
to-
demonstration.
Today they have to what we call as walk. Once online.
I understand.
They need all the videos. Just like
But that's
the words.
they have flip classroom.
Well, all the videos produced. So, in a sense, it's free. Yes.
No editing involved.
Sorry, I have a question to Spencer. One thing that's, I am someone who totally believes in the value of film classroom. But let me ask a specific question which pertains to some downsides of a film classroom. Let's talk about the lecture specifically. What happens in a lecturing of a content, let's say of 10 minutes, what I would record and put it on the YouTube or some kind of video platform, what I would do in the classroom and see a small difference. For example, my 10 minutes of plan in the classroom will be very dynamic. I'm not going to be speaking 10 minutes, and it's going to be based on the reaction of my students, based on some intervention or the curiosity. So it's, as you said, engaging the students in terms of lecturing. It's not necessarily asking them a question, but then kind of challenging them on something. Just I put a scenario or rather say a concept, explain a concept and sort of give a case study and say, hey, what would be your position? Then based on their questioning or reaction, my lecture will be very dynamic. So if you want me to deliver the same 10 minutes lecture in the next class for another group, I will not do the same way. It will change based on how they
That's
react.
exactly what you need to look for the flippable moments within the 10 minutes and break it down into maybe 1 minute, 1.5
No,
minutes.
that's fine, but my question is not that. My question is if I rather do the flip model, I'm going to sit in front of the camera and record that 10 minutes. It's going to be a standard delivery. So my question is, am I not missing some moments which rather at the very moment when I deliver, the students are reacting to? Here they may pass, there are advantages. As I said at the outset, I believe in the value of this, but I feel that dynamism is gone when I kind of put this 10 minutes and then go back. The students may think, looking at the video, they may think some questions.
And those are fair pieces. And the answer is that one doesn't preclude the other on that. And you also have a variety of different levels of students within there. And so having you as a static video that they can rewind, re-listen to, for some of those students is a tremendous advantage than having you dynamically change the lecture on each one.
For them, it's even a challenge, not to be able to follow.
So it's only a combination of and then 10 minutes you stay, they can come to you, sit down in the class, and they can ask specific questions. These are choice pieces, not that are independent upon the teaching style and nature of it. When they work effectively, they are pretty highly effective, but part of it is they try to address the fact that students often don't do homework, don't do the other work. Many students daydream through life.
That's very good. I think you touched upon something. It's a kind of compromise we will make.
And there are a lot of work. But one doesn't have to flip the whole course at one time. One can flip one topic and see how it works, and then get feedback to see if it works for the class. And that's how most people I know have done it. They flipped maybe 2 or 3 lectures, or maybe a week, and then the students came back and said, I really learned a lot on this piece, because they liked the fact that they could ask questions in class, and they don't ask questions. The answer is when we lecture, you dynamic questions. Because people are going through it, students don't want to.
Thank you very much.
I think every one of us maybe can do flipping if we learn from the TED Talk. TED Talk. Okay. Get a chapter and try to
get together sometime to see how
right?
we work
Try
together.
to
To try something flipping. And then people, it's very hard to just talk about it.
Yeah.
We should practice level any aspect.
Of course, on the other hand, we're not
Do you use
active.
PowerPoint when you talk?
Yeah, I don't use PowerPoint. I try to prepare this kind of materials. Maybe some
When you
presentation.
lecture, though?
Yeah. Okay, I just give I don't like using PowerPoint.
So the reason I asked is because in PowerPoint, the add-on is
Yeah, I know that. Okay, I use it before, okay, but in terms of this course, I think this way of distributing the handout, you should be more effective. But of course, for another course, okay, I did use PowerPoint and then click it and then broadcast to them something. Yeah, I have tried this in another course.
Yeah, so that's easy. I mean, the better ones are when you use it.
Thank you very much.
You see, I got a student in first grade classroom now asking questions.
如果 observation 咧係即刻從一啲嘢度咧就可以即刻多啲嘢，可能多啲嘅，但係最基本嘅，因為你有時間去幫你啲咯，但係因為你都可能個堂差，因為我其實呢個每一個人都需要3個 reference， 所以你其實應該係除咗用呢個邊應該再睇多另外嘅3點，但係嗰3點同我要拉唔係即係唔使就 focus， 但 focus 就同個堂。得嗰個見嗰個咩 wiki 啊，個 new page 嗰個係嗰個可以 因為咧我哋今次咧想介紹俾你認識個 wiki 啦，就因為喺第3個 learning contract 你哋一齊用 wiki 嚟做嘢啦。咁如果第一個 learning contract 你記得寫咗個 report 之後，你就 Microsoft 交啦。咁但係呢度咧就想你識個 wiki 咧，即係話你寫個 report 啦，你根據我哋 report 有好多件嘢嘅 section， 你就喺個 wiki 度建立咁多件嘢嘅 link， 每個 link 就有個 page。然後將你個 report 屬於嗰個 section 嘅 cover 落去，咁即係話起碼你有個用 wiki 嘅經驗咯。OK， 得唔得？ Actually, I have to stop here for this practical learning community for today, October the 30th, 2013. Thank you very much. 仲有一個問題。